Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The Last Drop. The red dust of Mars whirled outside the reinforced windows of Colony Outpost 7 as Chen stared at the readings on her hydrology monitor. Each passing day brought worse news. The underground aquifer that sustained their settlement of 5,000 colonists was failing faster than anyone had predicted. 3 months of water remained, perhaps 4 if they implemented even stricter rationing. Her fingers traced the delicate silver pendant at her neck, a habit she'd developed during particularly stressful moments. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this." Marcus, her research assistant, burst into the lab, his dark face flushed with excitement. He thrust a tablet toward her, hands trembling slightly. The deep scanning array picked up something unusual. Sarah took the device, studying the geological readout. At first glance, it appeared to be another empty cavern, one of hundreds honeycombing the Martian crust beneath their feet. But as she examined the regular geometric patterns, her breath caught. "This isn't natural." "That's what I thought too." Marcus zoomed in on the image. Perfect hexagonal chambers, organized in a spiral pattern, extending at least 2 kilometers down. And look at the material composition. The spectral analysis showed traces of elements unknown to human science, arranged in crystalline structures that defied conventional physics. Sarah's heart began to race. After 15 years of searching Mars for sustainable water sources, had they finally found something truly extraordinary? "We need to get down there," she said, already reaching for her expedition gear. "Alert Director Collins, but keep this quiet otherwise. The last thing we need is to give people false hope." Within 2 hours, Sarah led a small team including Marcus and 2 security officers into the newly discovered tunnel system. Their electric rover navigated the narrow access shaft they'd bored, descent lights illuminating walls that grew increasingly strange. Natural rock gave way to surfaces that seemed almost polished, covered in swirling patterns that might have been decorative or might have been writing. "This definitely isn't natural," Officer Rivera muttered, her hand never far from her sidearm. "And it isn't human either." "No," Sarah agreed softly. "This is something else entirely." They reached the first chamber at a depth of 1.5 kilometers. The rover's lights revealed a vast hexagonal space, its walls gleaming with an inner luminescence. At the center stood a pillar of what appeared to be liquid metal, defying gravity as it flowed upward in a continuous stream. "My God," Marcus whispered. "Look at the energy readings." Sarah checked her instruments. The chamber was alive with power, but of a type their sensors struggled to categorize. As she approached the central pillar, her pendant grew warm against her skin. She pulled it out, startled to see it glowing with the same ethereal light as the chamber walls. A sound like crystal chimes filled the air, and the liquid metal pillar began to pulse. Patterns of light raced across the walls, forming into distinct shapes. Sarah realized with a start that they were words, but in no language she recognized. "Dr. Chen." Rivera's warning came too late. A beam of light shot from the pillar, enveloping Sarah. She felt no pain, only a curious sensation of being examined, studied. The pendant at her neck grew hot, and suddenly she could understand the words flowing across the walls. "Worthy," they read. "Bearer of the key. Enter." A doorway materialized in the chamber wall, leading deeper into the complex. Sarah's pendant pulled her forward like a compass needle seeking north. "Dr. Chen, wait." Marcus called out. "We should call for backup." "There's no time," Sarah replied, knowing it was true, though she couldn't explain how. "The colony's water supply is failing. Whatever this is, it might be our only hope." She stepped through the doorway, her team following reluctantly. The passage led them into a larger chamber filled with machinery that seemed to blur at the edges, as if it existed partially in another dimension. At its heart stood a console of the same liquid metal as the pillar. As Sarah approached, her pendant lifted of its own accord, pointing at a hexagonal depression in the console's surface. The pendant was an exact match, but that was impossible. She'd owned it all her life, a family heirloom passed down through generations. "This can't be coincidence," she murmured, removing the pendant. "My great-grandmother found this during the first Mars expedition, 60 years ago. She always said it felt important, but no one could figure out what it was." With trembling fingers, she placed the pendant into the depression. It fit perfectly. The chamber hummed to life, and a holographic figure materialized before them, tall, ethereal, with features that seemed to shift between humanoid and something utterly alien. "Welcome, inheritor," the figure spoke, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "We have waited long for one who carries the key." "Who are you?" Sarah asked, struggling to maintain her scientific composure in the face of what could only be described as advanced alien technology. "What is this place?" "We were the Hydrosians, shapers of worlds. Long ago, we seeded Mars with our water transformation technology, knowing that one day another species would need it. The key you carry marked you as worthy to receive our legacy." The hologram gestured, and the chamber walls became transparent, revealing vast underground reservoirs filled with machinery still humming with power after countless millennia. "This facility can transform the polar ice caps into liquid water, create atmospheric moisture, and restore Mars to its ancient glory. But there is a price." Sarah's heart raced. The salvation of their colony, of all human settlement on Mars, lay within reach. "What price?" "The transformation requires a guide, one who will merge with our technology to direct its power. The process cannot be reversed. You will become something neither human nor Hydrosian, existing as long as Mars needs you." The figure's ever-shifting features settled into an expression of solemn warning. "Choose carefully, inheritor." Sarah felt the weight of 5,000 lives pressing down on her. Her team waited silently, understanding the magnitude of the moment. She thought of her family back on Earth, the life she'd planned for herself. Then she thought of the children in the colony, their parents rationing every precious drop of water while watching the supplies dwindle. "If I accept, you can guarantee the colony's survival? Permanent water security for Mars?" "Yes. Through you, our technology will sustain all life on Mars." Sarah squared her shoulders, feeling a strange sense of peace settle over her. Perhaps this had been her destiny all along, from the moment her great-grandmother found that strange pendant in the Martian dust. "I accept." The hologram nodded, and the liquid metal from the console began to flow toward her. "Then embrace your transformation, inheritor. Become what your world needs." As the metallic substance enveloped her, Sarah caught a final glimpse of her team's awestruck faces. She felt no fear, only certainty. Humanity had come to Mars seeking a future among the stars. Now she would ensure that future, not as its conqueror, but as its guardian. The transformation began, and with it, the next chapter in the story of two civilizations reaching across time and space to preserve the most precious resource of all. Transformation. The liquid metal cocoon surrounding Sarah pulsed with otherworldly energy, each wave reshaping her at the molecular level. Through the translucent surface, Marcus and the security team watched in stunned silence as their colleague underwent her metamorphosis. Hours passed, marked only by the steady hum of ancient machinery and the crystalline chimes of alien technology at work. When the cocoon finally dissolved, Sarah Chen had become something extraordinary. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent sheen, catching light like morning dew. Patterns of luminescent circuits traced her arms and face, glowing with the same ethereal blue as the chamber walls. When she opened her eyes, they held the depth of Martian aquifers and the wisdom of an ancient civilization. "Dr. Chen?" Marcus stepped forward cautiously. "Are you, still you?" Sarah smiled, the expression both familiar and somehow more than human. "I'm me, Marcus. Just, more." She lifted her hand, and streams of water materialized from the air, dancing between her fingers. "I can feel everything, every ice crystal at the poles, every pocket of frozen water trapped beneath the surface, every drop of moisture in the colony's recycling systems." "The transformation is complete," the Hydrosian hologram announced. You are now the guardian of Mars, keeper of its waters, and shepherd of its resurrection. Officer Rivera cleared her throat. Ma'am, we need to report this to Director Collins. The whole colony's probably in panic mode by now. Sarah nodded, but her attention was elsewhere, her new senses extending throughout the vast underground complex. There's so much here, terraforming systems, atmospheric processors, technology we couldn't even dream of. But first, she gestured, and a holographic display materialized, showing the colony's failing water supply. We need to stabilize the immediate crisis. With another gesture, she activated ancient pumps deep beneath the surface. The colony's reservoir indicators began to rise, then stabilized at full capacity. But Sarah wasn't finished. The luminescent patterns on her skin brightened as she accessed more of the hydrogen systems. High above, clouds began to form in the thin Martian atmosphere for the first time in millions of years. That should buy us time, she said, lowering her hand. But it's just the beginning. The hydrogens left us everything we need to make Mars livable, not just for our colony, but for millions of people. We just need to implement their plans carefully, systematically. Marcus was already taking readings on his tablet, his scientist's enthusiasm overriding his initial shock. The atmospheric density is increasing in targeted areas. And these energy signatures. Dr. Chen, this technology could revolutionize everything we know about planetary engineering. Sarah, Rivera interrupted, her security training asserting itself. This is incredible, but we need to think about the implications. Every government on Earth will want control of this technology. And you're now, what exactly? Some kind of human-alien hybrid with godlike powers over water? Sarah's new eyes flickered with ancient knowledge. The hydrogens foresaw that possibility. This technology can't be removed or replicated. It's genetically bound to me now, and through me, to the survival of Mars itself. My responsibility is to this planet and all who would make it their home, not to Earth's political games. As if to emphasize her point, the complex rumbled to life around them. Doors that had been sealed for millennia opened, revealing chambers filled with suspended animation pods. Inside each pod floated a crystalline seed, waiting to be awakened. Life pods, Sarah explained, touching one gently. Engineered organisms designed to process the Martian soil, release oxygen, create sustainable ecosystems. The hydrogens didn't just leave us technology, they left us the building blocks of a new world. But why? Marcus asked. Why go to all this trouble for a species they'd never even met? Sarah's expression turned distant, accessing memories that weren't quite her own. Because they'd seen it happen before. Civilizations reaching for the stars before they were ready to handle the power they found there. The hydrogens believed that true worthiness could only be proven through sacrifice, through one person willing to give up their humanity to shepherd their people's future. And that's you, Rivera said softly. You're never going to be able to return to Earth, are you? No, Sarah agreed, but there was no regret in her voice. Mars is my home now. For as long as it needs me. She turned to face her team, her transformed features settling into an expression of determination. But right now, we have work to do. Marcus, I need you to coordinate with the colonial science teams. Officer Rivera, we'll need security protocols for this facility. And someone needs to tell Director Collins that the water crisis is over, but our real challenges are just beginning. As her team rushed to carry out their tasks, Sarah placed her hand against one of the chamber walls. Through her enhanced senses, she could feel the entire complex awakening, systems dormant for eons coming back online. The hydrogens had left more than just technology, they had left hope, wrapped in the promise of sacrifice and transformation. In the colony above, the first natural rain in millions of years began to fall on Martian soil. It was just a light shower, barely enough to dampen the red dust. But it was a beginning. And as Sarah Chen, no longer entirely human but still burning with human determination, began to access more of the ancient systems, she knew it was only the first drop in an ocean of changes to come. The hydrogens had chosen well. Humanity would have its future among the stars, not through conquest or force, but through understanding, sacrifice, and the wisdom to know when to transform itself into something new. The rain continued to fall, each drop carrying the promise of tomorrow. Legacy awakens. The news of Sarah's transformation and the miraculous revival of Mars's water systems spread through Colony Outpost 7 like wildfire. Within days, delegations from Earth began arriving, scientists, government officials, and corporate representatives, all eager to study or claim the hydrogen technology. But they found their path blocked by an unexpected force, the Martian colonists themselves. "We can't risk Earth's interference," Director Collins announced to the Colony Council, as Sarah stood silently beside him, her luminescent form commanding attention. "What Dr. Chen, what our guardian has become represents Mars's chance at true independence. We owe it to future generations to handle this responsibility wisely." Sarah felt the weight of every gaze in the council chamber, but her enhanced senses were focused on bigger concerns. High above, the atmospheric processors were gradually thickening Mars's air. Below, dormant microorganisms left by the hydrogens were awakening in the soil, beginning the long process of terraforming. And everywhere, water flowed through new channels, bringing life to the dead world. "There's something else you need to see," she announced, interrupting a heated debate about Earth relations. With a gesture, she created a holographic display of Mars's interior. The hydrogens didn't just leave us technology. They left us a warning. The display zoomed in on the planet's core, revealing alarming data. "Mars's magnetic field is failing faster than we thought. Without it, solar radiation will eventually strip away any atmosphere we create, along with our water. We have perhaps 50 years before the deterioration becomes irreversible." The chamber erupted in panic, but Sarah raised her hand, commanding silence. The hydrogens foresaw this too. "There's a solution, but it requires something unprecedented, a joining of human innovation with hydrogen power." Marcus, who had been studying the alien databanks, stepped forward. "You're talking about Project Phoenix," he said. "But the energy requirements would be astronomical," Sarah finished. "To restart Mars's core, to rebuild its magnetic field, it would take more power than humanity has ever generated. But together..." She gestured again, and new holographic images appeared, designs for massive geothermal taps that would harness the planet's remaining heat, combined with hydrogen energy matrices. "We have 50 years to save Mars," she continued. "Not just to make it habitable on the surface, but to heal it from within." The hydrogens left us the knowledge, but they knew only humanity's drive and determination could actually achieve it. Director Collins studied the plans, his expression grave. "Earth will never approve this level of independent development. They'll try to take control." "Let them try," Officer Rivera spoke up from her position by the door. In the weeks since the discovery, she had become one of Sarah's strongest supporters. "They can't access the hydrogen systems without Dr. Chen. And they can't get to her without going through all of us." Sarah felt a wave of gratitude for her people's loyalty, but she knew the real challenges were just beginning. "We don't need Earth's approval," she said. "Only their cooperation. Because what we're about to attempt will change not just Mars, but the future of human civilization." She waved her hand again, and the holographic display expanded to show the entire solar system. "The hydrogens didn't just give us the tools to save Mars. They gave us the blueprint for humanity's expansion to the stars. But first, we have to prove we're worthy of it." As if in response to her words, the ground trembled. Deep beneath the surface, the first of the massive geothermal taps activated, drawing power from Mars's cooling core. Sarah felt the energy flow through her transformed body, a reminder of both her humanity and her new connection to the planet itself. "We start now," she announced. "Marcus, coordinate with the engineering teams. We'll need to modify the hydrogen designs to work with our current technology. Director Collins, we need to prepare our response to Earth, not as a colony seeking permission, but as a planet charting its own course." The council chamber buzzed with activity as people rushed to their tasks. Sarah stood quietly, her iridescent skin reflecting the red Martian sunlight that filtered through the windows. Through her enhanced senses, she felt the first stirrings of life in the soil, the gradual strengthening of the atmosphere, and the steady pulse of water flowing through new underground rivers. A small hand touched her arm, Lisa Chen, her niece, who had joined the colony just before Sarah's transformation. "Aunt Sarah? Are you still, you?" Sarah knelt down, her otherworldly appearance softening as she smiled at the child. "I'm still me, sweetheart. Just part of something bigger now." She created a small ball of water in her palm, letting it take the shape of a flower. "Want to know a secret? The Hydrosians left all this for us because they saw something special in humanity, not just our technology or our intelligence, but our heart. Our ability to love a place so much, we'd give anything to make it a home." Lisa studied the water flower with wonder. "Is that why you changed? Because you love Mars?" "That's exactly why." Sarah stood, letting the water flower dissolve into mist. "And now it's time to show everyone else why this red planet is worth fighting for." Outside the council chamber, the first green shoots were pushing through the enriched Martian soil, tiny, engineered plants designed to survive the harsh conditions. Above them, the sky was darkening with rain clouds. And deep below, the ancient machines of two civilizations were beginning to work together, building a future neither species could have achieved alone. The legacy of the Hydrosians was awakening, but it would be human hands, human hearts, and human determination that would bring it to fruition. Sarah Chen, standing between two worlds and two forms of existence, would make sure of that. Crucible of Stars. The Earth delegation arrived with all the subtlety of a solar flare, a fleet of ships carrying representatives from every major world power, corporate entity, and scientific institution. Sarah watched their descent from the newly constructed observation spire, her transformed body glowing softly in the dim Martian dawn. "They're early," Marcus noted, checking his data pad. The past 6 months had aged him, his face lined with the strain of implementing the massive terraforming project. "The atmospheric density isn't stable enough for their planned landing zone." Sarah raised her hand, manipulating streams of moisture in the air. "I'll guide them down." Through her connection to the Hydrosian systems, she created a corridor of calm air through the increasingly turbulent Martian atmosphere. The Earth ships followed the path like beads on a string. But as they descended, Sarah sensed something else, energy readings that didn't match civilian vessels. "They've brought weapons," she said quietly. "Hidden in their cargo holds. Prototype electromagnetic pulse generators, designed to disrupt alien technology." Marcus swore softly. "They're planning to try to shut down the Hydrosian systems? That would kill everything we've accomplished." "It would kill me," Sarah corrected, her voice eerily calm. "The transformation can't be reversed. My life is tied to the systems now." She turned to face her friend, her otherworldly eyes reflecting the rising sun. "But they don't understand what they're dealing with. The Hydrosians built their technology to last through solar flares and meteor impacts. Human weapons won't even scratch the surface." The Earth ships landed in a circle around the colony's new spaceport, their engines kicking up swirls of red dust that danced through Sarah's carefully maintained air corridor. As the delegates began to disembark, she felt the hidden weapons powering up, preparing to strike. "Should we stop them?" Marcus asked, his hand hovering over the emergency alert system. "No." Sarah's lips curved in a slight smile. "Let them try. Sometimes understanding requires demonstration." The attack came without warning. Electromagnetic pulses rippled across the spaceport, powerful enough to short out every piece of human technology in range. But the Hydrosian systems, integrated with Sarah's transformed being, didn't even flicker. Instead, the energy was absorbed, redirected, and used to power the next phase of atmospheric processing. "Impressive," Sarah called out, her voice carrying unnaturally across the landing field. But ultimately futile. She walked forward, her feet hovering slightly above the ground, the air around her shimmering with contained power. "Now, shall we discuss why you really came?" The Earth delegates, their carefully planned ambush thwarted, had no choice but to follow diplomatic protocols. They were led to the colony's new council chamber, a vast room where hydrogen crystal merged seamlessly with human architecture. Sarah took her place at the center, no longer trying to appear fully human. "Mars is not your testing ground," she announced before they could begin their prepared speeches. "Nor is it your resource cache or your military advantage. It is becoming its own living world, and I am its guardian." "You were human once," a delegate from the United Earth Coalition pointed out. "You have a duty to your species." "My duty is to life itself," Sarah countered. Through the walls, everyone could see the progress of their work, green patches spreading across the red soil, clouds gathering in the thickening atmosphere, the first hints of liquid water flowing in ancient riverbeds. "The Hydrosians chose humanity because they saw our potential, not our greed. They left us a legacy that could transform not just Mars, but every world we might reach." She waved her hand, and the chamber filled with holographic displays showing future possibilities, terraformed moons around Jupiter and Saturn, colonies spreading throughout the solar system, all sustained by the merger of human innovation and Hydrosian wisdom. "But first," she continued, "you need to understand what that legacy truly means. It's not about power or control. It's about transformation, of worlds, of societies, and of ourselves." As if to emphasize her point, the ground trembled. Deep beneath the surface, the modified geothermal taps were reaching critical phases, channeling energy into Mars's core. Sarah felt the power flow through her, a reminder of both the planet's vulnerability and its potential. "I'm going to show you something," she announced. "Something that will help you understand what we're really doing here." With a gesture more complex than any she'd attempted before, Sarah connected everyone in the chamber to a fraction of her enhanced senses. For one brief moment, they felt what she felt, the pulse of water through underground aquifers, the struggle of engineered bacteria transforming the soil, the delicate balance of atmospheric gases, and the immense task of restarting a planet's core. When the connection faded, many of the delegates were weeping. Others sat in stunned silence. Sarah waited patiently as they processed what they'd experienced. "The Hydrosians didn't give us a weapon or a tool," she said softly. "They gave us understanding. They showed us that true power comes not from control, but from connection. Not from taking, but from transforming. Not from division, but from unity." She stood, her transformed figure, casting patterns of light across the chamber walls. "So here is my offer, not as a former human, not as an alien hybrid, but as the guardian of Mars. Work with us. Learn with us. Transform with us. Help us build something that will outlast all our petty divisions and short-term desires." "And if we refuse?" someone asked. Sarah smiled, and in that expression was both compassion and immovable determination. "Then you'll miss your chance to be part of the greatest adventure humanity has ever undertaken. Mars will continue its transformation with or without Earth's blessing. The only question is whether you want to be remembered as those who tried to stop the future, or those who helped shape it." The chamber fell silent except for the distant rumble of terraforming machinery. Outside, the first natural rainbow in millions of years arched across the Martian sky, a bridge between what was and what could be, a promise written in light and water. The choice now lay with Earth. But as Sarah Chen, guardian of Mars, stood watching the play of colors through the crystalline walls, she knew that humanity's true destiny had already begun. The crucible of Mars would either forge them into something greater, or prove that they weren't ready for the legacy the Hydrosians had left them. Either way, the red planet would endure, and its guardian would continue her work, transforming death into life, one drop of water at a time. New dawn. 10 years had passed since Earth's failed attempt to seize control of Mars. The planet that Sarah Chen watched from her crystal spire was almost unrecognizable from the barren world she'd first pledged to protect. Lakes dotted the northern hemisphere, their blue waters reflecting the light of Phobos and Deimos. Engineered forests spread across vast stretches of transformed soil, their purple-tinged leaves designed to maximize photosynthesis in the thinner atmosphere. But it was the people who had changed the most. Guardian, a young voice called. Sarah turned to see Maya Rodriguez, one of the first children born on Mars after the transformation began. Like many of the new generation, Maya showed signs of natural adaptation, slightly larger eyes to cope with the lower light, denser bone structure to handle the gravity, and most surprisingly, a faint luminescence to her skin that echoed Sarah's own transformed state. The core readings are stabilizing, Maya reported, her fingers dancing over a control panel that merged human and hydrogen technology. The magnetic field is strengthening faster than projected. Sarah nodded, feeling the truth of it through her connection to the planet. The massive project to restart Mars's core was succeeding, powered by the combined determination of two worlds. After Earth's failed intervention, a new agreement had been reached. Mars would share its transformed resources and the less dangerous aspects of hydrogen technology, in exchange for Earth's help in the monumental task of planetary resurrection. Guardian, Maya hesitated, then pressed on. The archives say you used to be fully human. Do you ever regret your choice? Sarah studied her reflection in the crystal walls, her iridescent skin, the circuits of light that traced her form, the ancient knowledge that shimmered in her eyes. No, she said softly. Because I'm still human where it matters most, in my heart, in my hopes for our future. An alert chimed, drawing their attention to the global display. The first of the great orbital mirrors was moving into position, designed to increase solar energy reaching the surface. It was a purely human innovation, but one that worked in perfect harmony with the hydrogen systems. We're ready for the next phase, Marcus announced, entering the chamber. Age had turned his hair gray, but his eyes still sparkled with scientific enthusiasm. The polar ice caps are responding exactly as the models predicted. Within 5 years, we'll have our first permanent ocean. Sarah extended her senses, feeling the intricate dance of transformation spreading across the planet. The hydrogen machines hummed in perfect harmony with human technology, each supporting the other in ways neither species had imagined possible. But more importantly, she felt the life, microorganisms multiplying in the enriched soil, engineered plants spreading their roots, and the first native Martian species beginning to evolve. There's something else, Marcus added, his tone growing serious. We're detecting signals from beyond the solar system. The same type of energy signature as the hydrogen technology. Sarah had been expecting this. They're coming to see what we've accomplished. The hydrogens left similar legacies on other worlds, other civilizations. Now it's time for humanity to join the greater community. Are we ready? Maya asked, voicing the concern that echoed through the colony. Sarah smiled, creating a sphere of water in her palm that reflected not just the chamber, but the entire transformed planet. Look at what we've achieved. We've taken a dead world and breathed life back into it. We've overcome our divisions and learned to work together. We've proven that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence, but our ability to transform ourselves while keeping our essential nature, our determination, our creativity, our hope. The sphere of water rose, expanding to show images of their progress, the first Martian rain, the sprouting of engineered forests, the construction of cities that worked with the environment instead of against it. Children playing in parks under environmental domes, scientists from Earth and Mars working side by side, new species emerging in the transformed ecosystems. The hydrogens didn't choose us because we were perfect, Sarah continued. They chose us because we never stopped trying to be better. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt, we've faced them all and grown stronger. A new alert sounded, the incoming signals were growing stronger. The unknown visitors would arrive within the year. But Sarah felt no fear, only anticipation. Through her connection to Mars, she sensed the readiness of her people, their eagerness to prove themselves on a galactic stage. Maya, she said, turning to the young Martian. Would you like to help me prepare our response to our visitors? I think it's time to show them what humanity has become. Maya's luminescent skin brightened with excitement. What will we tell them? Sarah's transformed features softened into a smile that was entirely human. We'll tell them our story. How we took the gift of the hydrogens and made it our own. How we learned that true power comes not from conquering worlds, but from nurturing them. How we discovered that the greatest transformation isn't in changing a planet's surface, but in changing ourselves. Outside, the Martian sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, reflected in the newly created lakes and the crystal spires of their cities. In orbit, the great mirrors adjusted their positions, preparing to catch the first light of another dawn. And deep beneath the surface, at the planet's very heart, human and Hydrosian technology worked as one, keeping alive the dream of two civilizations reaching across time and space to create something new. Sarah Chen, guardian of Mars, stood watching it all, her transformed body glowing with the combined power of human determination and alien wisdom. The next chapter of their story was about to begin, and she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them as they had faced all others, with courage, creativity, and an unwavering belief in their ability to transform themselves and their world for the better. The first stars began to appear in the darkening Martian sky. Among them, somewhere, their visitors were approaching. But they would find not a colony or an experiment, but a new civilization born from the best of two worlds. Mars had become more than a second home for humanity, it had become the crucible in which they had forged themselves into something greater than they had ever imagined possible. And Sarah Chen, no longer entirely human but still burning with human spirit, stood ready to guide them into their next great adventure. The transformation was complete, but the story was just beginning.